started whenever you're ready. Hey everyone, Dan Dog Crypto. Pzen, as you can see, it's holding well. Once again, Pzen, early opportunity. Great opportunity to get in because of what's happening globally with the financial markets. Currency, your labor, what it's denominated in. Equities, securities, real estate, what it's denominated in. The compounding effect of inflation, what is actually happening to the buying power. It decreases exponentially. Pzen, that pay it forward system, assist all that interact with Pzen. When I stated join the movement, is an awareness of what is actually happening with all money supply. Governments, central bankers that are interacting with one another to try to come up with a plan to solve inflation, to reduce inflation by raising interest rates to slow down the dramatic effect of the deterioration of currencies. That is looking at it as a very optimistic an attempt to assist. But how did we get here? Well, central bankers creating excess flow of money, the reduction of, we'll say, it's tough to even describe it, trying to create economic GDP. But it starts years ago. We had Bretton Woods right after World War II, where the gold standard was established, where the US dollar was denominated and able to be exchanged for gold. Nixon changed that when he took the United States off the gold standard. And at that point, he says, the devaluation of the currency, as long as you buy American products, made in American products, your earnings are derived from your labor that is generated in the United States, so you won't be affected. So in 1971, this happens. Well, also what happens in 1971, they get off the gold standard and countries were wanting to exchange because of Vietnam, excess spending that the United States was doing. They believed they were devaluing, but they could exchange the currency for gold. Well, at that point, when he ended this, we had a change in the whole financial system that at that point they needed to create a deal, and they did, with Saudi Arabia. So when that deal goes in with Saudi Arabia, well, now it's backed by the gold is no longer in effect. And at that time, American citizens couldn't own gold. Well, now the U.S. is backed by the petrodollar. 1971, what happens now is we have this World Economic Forum that starts. Well, this World Economic Forum today, it started in 1971. And the original intent was to create stability in Europe. But the real intent is to create an equality across all boards. Leaders from all nations, central bankers, government officials have allied with the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab. So this starts in 1971, which has been in effect for the past 50 years. Business leaders, which totally transforms the landscape. Partners. You have BlackRock, which is listed right in the front page, which everyone is excited of BlackRock getting into cryptocurrency. When people talk about the reset, in an announcement that Klaus Schwab, you'll be happy to own nothing. Well, we're supporting a war with our allies of the West. Well, what happens is we end a deal with Saudi Arabia. We pull out our troops from Saudi Arabia. Here's an
The US is sending thousands more troops to Saudi Arabia. Remember, it already sent hundreds over the summer as tension with Iran and
So the big issue here, we deployed troops to support the petrodollar, but all of a sudden then we have our new elected president that actually pulls out of Afghanistan, but also takes out military assistance from Saudi Arabia. So now Saudi Arabia is left vulnerable, but yet we're supporting this agenda where it's the Clean New Deal, which ends up being clean energy, where it leaves Europe very vulnerable, leaves the United States vulnerable. But what is really vulnerable is the currency, where we have a World Economic Forum that openly is interacting with leaders throughout the globe, which is interesting because it's a transformation of the whole landscape. That's why I believe Pzen, early opportunity, you have to be aware. Well, cryptocurrency is an opportunity, but what happens is which cryptocurrency you're in. The manipulations of the market, of large entities trying to take control. So we need to be aware of that. Knowing what is happening. It is the currencies that is under attack. What has also happened is gold is considered or was considered a tier 3, which would represent 50% of the value, and currencies 100% of the value. But now gold is now a tier 1 that has been upgraded. So gold and currency have an equal value, that central bankers, large banks have been purchasing gold that will give the value, the equivalent of currency. Why? Because currency is devaluing at a rate. And who suffers? Is the citizens, the people of the country. So you break a system to recreate a system. This is what this is when they talk about the reset. Well, now we have this. Saudi Arabia and Russia have signed the military cooperation agreement. Well, that's huge. But also, as we state here, Trump breaks a deal with, or the government opens the door because he wants to pull out troops out of Saudi Arabia. Now, out of Afghanistan, but then we pull out, when Biden enters, we pull out of Afghanistan, and how it was done, leaving U.S. citizens, allies, and totally transforming everything. And also we pull out of Saudi Arabia. Well, who signs a deal with Saudi Arabia? Is Russia for oil. Well, the U.S. currency was backed by the petrodollar. Well, now you have nations from all over the world that are allying. It's something that you have to be aware of, because there is something that is brewing. And when you have central bankers that are interacting on a first name basis, they know what's happening, but the people do not. The media does not tell this. So I believe Pzen, where it does not have any whale manipulation, fair launch, pay it forward, redistribution, will help all. That's why I stated, join the movement. Let people know what is happening and what will happen to the currency. That is a reset. So pay it forward does something big and really helps others. Because alone you cannot do it. You need to unite. And uniting together, interacting, share the benefits of Pzen and what a pay it forward system truly represents when governments have been redistributing wealth but benefiting the 1%. Cryptocurrency opens up a freedom because you can take ownership. Well, government officials, they're in a position of favor, or anyone that has wealth. They just want to maintain and hold on to their wealth. So they're willing to go along with whatever is happening at whatever cost to preserve it, because you don't have a choice. But the people are the ones that suffer. So when you see a World Economic Forum partnering with central bankers, when they're having open forums and their agenda, and you have huge institutions that support and that ally on this climate change, well, what it's really doing is leaving the US dollar vulnerable with an intention, and they're willing to destroy their currency to reestablish a reset. The people will suffer. And at that point, whether you want it or not, if you're not able to hold on and pay for your daily expenses, your day-to-day activity, what happens? You don't have a choice. Pzen, if everyone understands it's your own private wallet, you hold the currency, Pzen, in your wallet. It's a wealth redistribution, compounding, continuous with every interaction. A pay it forward that benefits all that interact at all times. The redistribution, when I state transaction, transfer side, and the frequency, that is an infinite compounding effect because of the code. The code cannot be stopped. So it's important to share it and let people know what is happening. The alliances that have been formed. You have alliances that have been formed by nations. You have China, Russia, India, South Africa. That's called the BRICS nation, the Belt Road Initiative, allying. But also what happens is BRICS the whole initiative started in 2009. Bitcoin started in 2009. And it's gaining popularity with all their allies. And what's happening is furthering a agenda. When they say that we have a supply chain shock, whoever controls the supplies has the dominance. Who controls the food supply? That's why it's important to be in the right cryptocurrency with no manipulation. That will help all. Media is not being honest. They're not sharing what is happening. The gold markets, the paper markets, they're taking ownership. Central banks in 2017 buying more gold, taking ownership, taking it off. The silver markets, they're removing the counterparty risk. You have China selling Iran oil in the yuan and then are transferring the yuan into gold, avoiding sanctions that the United States has put. Saudi Arabia selling oil to Russia in the ruby and transferring it back into gold. And we, the United States here, that the dollar was dominant, we were energy independent, supplying the world. We get off all energy, oil, the production of this oil, and all of a sudden what supported the currency, now Russia is allied with the OPEC nations. Then you have a president that comes in and attacks Russia, weaponizing the dollar, removing them from the SWIFT system, further allying with Russia when they're already united together, all in a joint union in the BRICS nations, or BRICS intervention, the Belt Road Initiative, which coincides with the World Economic Forum, that all leaders throughout the world when you look at the interactions, it's alarming. Pzen, pay it forward, fair economic system that will help all. Because it's deflationary, every interaction, the 2% will be redistributed to a private wallet. No attack factor. You don't need to stake it. So your private wallet is your private wallet. You're free to do what you choose. Very important. So your independence and interactions are important. So a person that pays it forward grows just as much as the one receiving. We'll say the act of kindness, because it's true, because it's fair, it's not corrupt. But currencies are under attack, fiat. And nobody is talking about this. Pzen is sharing the truth to help all that interact and to do good, which is the charity. But it's assisting all. Share the opportunity, but be prepared of what will happen, because the equity markets are linked to the dollar. China holds the debt, the treasuries, and if they all collide together, they're willing to destroy their currencies to erupt and create a new union that they've already started. Be aware, further investigate. But this is what I see. I support Pzen and Pzen because it truly will assist and help maintaining your freedom, but your financial freedom, and also generating wealth without the manipulation of the 1% in government officials. Because cryptocurrency, the Internet of Things, gives you the freedom. But within that freedom, there is also a restraint, a control that is happening. And we saw this with what happened when our government officials shut down one of the interactions that were taking place with, well, we're seeing it with how they're playing with Ripple Labs. So be aware of this. They're manipulating the Bitcoin markets. It's interesting with ETH because, yes, it's proof of stake, but also the censorship and the validators. You have a Coinbase, a Binance, you have Kraken, the largest. Well, sometimes is when you have large entities holding things, it potentially leaves you vulnerable. So be aware. I'll further discuss things with everyone. Pzen, share it, teach others, but it's let people know possibly what will happen. But there are things that are looking that in order to attack inflation, Well, the central banks, and definitely in the United States, well, they don't want to seem as if they're the ones that killed the currency. So, a black swan event, they're preparing this black swan event. And these large financial entities are heavily invested in these regions that gain to benefit the most, but yet they don't disclose. So be aware, stay safe, keep dollar cost averaging, but share it. Share the importance to put your money into Pzen redistribution, creating a compounding yield. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.